Good evening to you and welcome to the Monday edition of Uctv News. I am Sunday Gloria Aboch. And now, as Uganda joins the rest of the world to commemorate World Cancer Day under the theme Closing the Cancer Gap, Dr. Niyonzima Nixon, the head of laboratory research and training at the Uganda Cancer Institute, has provided an overview of the cancer prevalence, standing at 34,000 new cancer cases being reported annually, with only 23.5% making it to Uganda Cancer Institute, making it to the Uganda Cancer Institute for treatment.
As you may well be aware, the current estimates for the number of new cases of cancer in Uganda is about 34,000 new cancer cases every year. And of that 34,000, about 23.5% make it for care at the Uganda Cancer Institute. That's between 7,000 and 8,000 new cancer cases that make it for care at the Uganda Cancer Institute. At the Mulago campus, which is UCI Mulago, we see between 6,500 and 7,500. And at Ambara Center, the Western Uganda Regional Cancer Center, we are seeing about 1,200 new cancer patients every year. And the commonest cancers, of course, haven't changed. Most of our cancers here, the commonest is cervical cancer. Cervical cancer, you know, is infection-related. It's a cancer of women and still the commonest over the past couple of years. And then we have prostate cancer being the commonest in men. And also about 10% of all the new cancer cases we see occur in children. So about 600 to 700 new cases of cancer in children are admitted at the Uganda Cancer Institute every year. And again, like the director has mentioned, we're taking very many steps to ensure that we manage this burden of cancer, and I will enumerate some of the steps we're taking at the Cancer Institute to address this big burden of cancer in the country. So the first is going to focus on what we're doing at the Mulago campus to address the challenge of cancer. And one, if you've been at the Cancer Institute Mulago, you know that we have significant numbers of patients. The Cancer Institute is currently a 149-bed hospital, and we are in the process of expanding this from 149 beds to 353 beds over the next 18 months. And the goal of this expansion is really to improve the patient spaces, but also to cater for every patient who comes to the Uganda Cancer Institute. In addition to just the bed spaces, we're also working on equipment. We have expanded our capacity to manage patients in different areas. In radiotherapy, as some of you may know, we have expanded and acquired. Currently, we have a total of 8 radiotherapy machines, which is a very, very big leap from where we were in 2016, where we had absolutely no machine. In addition, we have also started work on a nuclear medicine facility, and many of the Ugandans who go outside the country go to do what they commonly call PET. And PET is one of the diagnostic measures that we use to detect cancer. And we have started work on constructing a facility that's going to be our nuclear medicine facility. And again, our timeline is about 18 months when we hope this to be fully online. And of course, that doesn't stop there. We have also invested in other areas. Our diagnostic capacity in radiology or oncology imaging has expanded. We have an expanded diagnostic menu, including CT scans, X-rays, and we have also acquired an MRI that we hope will be live at the end of this financial year. And our lab has also expanded capacity to diagnose cancer, to detect cancer at the earliest stages, but also to follow up our patients who come for care at the Uganda Cancer Institute. So that's just a summary of what we're doing at the UCI Mulago campus. But like the director mentioned, this year's theme, and for the past 3 years, is to close the care gap, the cancer care gap. And there are many areas or gaps that we have identified as Cancer Institute, such as the distance to care, and also, of course, affordability and accessibility to care that have been difficult for our patients. And part of what we have started under this National Development Plan 3 is actually to establish regional cancer centers. And we've planned 4 regional cancer centers under NDP 3, and that is Gulu, and we have completed construction of the Northern Uganda Regional Cancer Center in Gulu. and we hope that this will also be fully functional or fully operationalized this financial year.
Dr. Orem Jackson, the Executive Director of Uganda Cancer Institute, has called for action plans on late and early cancer diagnosis due to lack of awareness in the community. Dr. Orem also noted the challenges of traditional healers and pastors, urging for a need for diagnosis.
The first thing that is needed is to actually see what can be done despite the fact that a person has come late. No one should be left behind. No one should be left unattended to. And actually that is what already the Uganda Cancer Institute is doing. And that is perhaps the reason why in most cases you find that the institute is very congested, and it is partly because we are tending to everybody. So one thing, we are doing everything possible for those who are presenting at the institute, irrespective of whether you present early or you present late. But why is it that people come late? That is actually what we need to address. And I want to ask Dr. Alfred Jasso to handle that, because most of this is happening in the community, and partly because of lack of awareness. And what are we doing about that? And then number two, partly because of a lack of capacity for making diagnosis. What are we doing about that? So between Alfred and to some extent also Nixon, they'll handle that in detail. Then the issue of the traditional healers and pastors, a very, very, very big problem. And partly this is coming about because of the way our society is structured, and then partly also because access to information as well as diagnosis in the past has been minimal. So the only way to handle this in the first place is to make sure that our society is made aware that cancer is a disease. It's not a witchcraft, it's not a spiritual thing, it's actually a condition, and it is something which can be diagnosed, something which can be effectively treated. Of course, at times you may say you also need the element of trust, the element of faith. All that is part and parcel of life. But we should not say that, there is only one way of handling the situation. The first thing that is needed is a diagnosis. A diagnosis is needed. And in most cases, be it the traditional healers, be it the pastors, they don't have that. So we need in the first place a diagnosis. And diagnosis can only be made by well-trained and a place which has the capacity to do it. So I think the only way out is to actually make sure that our people are aware that there is actually the capacity to do that.
And now the Uganda Police has advised all school proprietors to review the safety and emergency tips as the schools officially opened for the academic year 2024. This has been revealed by the police spokesperson Fred Enanga during the weekly press briefing held at the police headquarters in Naguru early today. In the recent past, a number of schools have been razed down by fires, resulting into loss of lives and properties. The most recent is the fire at Kasana Junior School in Nyendo, Masaka in October 2023 that left 7 children dead and 5 injured. According to the assessment conducted between May 2022 and May 2023 by the National Buildings Review Board, only 13% of schools in Uganda have implemented mechanisms to safeguard learners against fire outbreaks and their subsequent consequences. It is on this ground that Fred Enanga advised schools proprietors to review the safety and emergency tips to ensure safety of learners who are reporting back to school this week for the academic year 2024.
To remind all schools, as always, to review their security emergency preparations and make alterations. From the previous emergency preparations that they had, because some of these school safety fundamentals are mastered by parents and other members of the public, so it's important to alter them.
Now, the religious in the Archdiocese of Tororo have celebrated the Day of Consecrated Life, reflecting on their call to serve God with patience and hope. They joined the World Order of the Religious Worldwide on the celebration of the Feast of Presentation of the Lord, which also marks the Day of Consecrated Life.
Live in hope every day of your life as you wait for the Lord, was the message from the Archbishop of Tororo, the Most Reverend Dr. Emmanuel Omo, to the religious serving in the Archdiocese as they celebrated the Day of Consecrated Life. The Archbishop, who celebrated Mass in Uganda Matters Cathedral Nyangole for the religious men and women to mark their day, reminded them to take seriously their call, reflecting on their lives as religious in everything they do. He also called upon them to always take courage and rise up when things don't go as planned.
Never lose hope in your life. Never lose hope. Even when there are difficulties in the community, know that at one time the Lord will come and intervene. Arise, dear son. Arise, dear daughter. You are fallen. Don't remain down there. Get up. Look for a moment of repentance.
In 1997, Pope John Paul II instituted February 2nd as the World Day of Consecrated Life. To the religious here in Tororo, this feast, which falls on the Feast of the Presentation of the Lord, helps them to reflect more on their own presentation and commitment in serving God.
And for us religious, we take it up a celebration of the religious and a religious renewal of our religious commitment to the Lord, and remind ourselves that we are to be offered to the Lord as a sacrifice, as Christ himself was offered in the temple.
We feel joy to be given this day to celebrate our life as people who have been specially chosen and consecrated. It boosts our morale, it boosts our energy, and we are rejuvenated to serve with renewed vigor the vineyard of the Lord.
The religious take different roles in the church, but above all, collaborating with the bishop in the work of evangelization through the different charisms they have.
Yeah, basically we commit ourselves through the vows to be at the service of the church and the service of the Lord. And each religious takes a different ministries, or we call it charism or apostolate. And for us, me as a Franciscan missionary, so St. Francis de Sales, our main charism is the parish mission, wherein we take a parishes. We try to revive the faith of the people through primary evangelization and re-evangelization. Also, we have the second charism of education of the youth. And then we take a missions abroad, where we are needed, where the church is needed, where the priests are needed. So there are many other congregations focusing on education, taking up the ministry of health, taking up the ministry of charism of attending to the needy, the poor, the destitute, and all that. We have seen a lot of examples and so many congregations.
Like Benedictine, our charism is pray and work. Once you join, they direct you in pray and work. And there is work, it is not meaning that you're going to dig what it is different you can do in the monastery. We have a school, we have the hospital, we have the farms.
Though they have left their homes, their joy is complete in their life of service and in the promise of the Lord.
Father, initially it was very hard because it was different places, different situation, different people, and it was really very hard to adapt to this and to start working in Africa. But as I began to work after a few years, now it is very hard for me to leave Africa and go to work somewhere else because I see there is a lot of scope, there is a lot of need, and a lot we can do for the people because people are craving for the Word of God and spirituality.
Those who have left father and mother and have followed me, their reward will be great, not only in the world to come, but already they will share in that 100-fold. And we feel we share in that because sometimes we feel a joy which is supernatural and we cannot explain.
Aloysius Opio, UCTV, Tororo.
The National Coordinator, Office for Prevention of Trafficking in Persons, has called upon stakeholders in the education sector, notably the school heads, to work closely with the police to curb child trafficking vice that is rampant, especially as schools open for the first term. Addressing media at the police headquarters, Derek Basalirwa Chigenyi, the Deputy National Coordinator for Trafficking in Persons, urged parents and guardians to always be cautious and work closely with the transporters of their children while going to school.
By the activities of these traffickers. This goes ahead to show you that, like I said before, one trafficker can affect more than one person as a victim, including the victim and the relatives and the friends of the respective victim. But all these convictions and the number of suspects and victims identified emanated from 1,980 cases that were filed at the office of the ODPP. So we call upon you, school heads, work with the police, work with the authorities near you, work with the parents, even as we call upon you parents and guardians of these students to also be cautious. You work so much well with transporters, boda transporters, van transporters who pick and drop our students on a daily. We call upon you. Stay alert and stay vigilant. We also come to warn you, to alert you, and to let you know that you're potential victims of human trafficking, even with your degrees, even with your masters. The traffickers no longer segregate. They traffic each and everyone, regardless of your capacity. And now that many of you could be on the streets looking for the jobs, this is the opportunity the traffickers also use to come at you with so many lucrative opportunities, with so many unbelievable jobs.
Now let's take a look at our segment, Today in History. Thank you for watching the Uganda Catholic Television. UCTV News takes a break and we'll be back with the Rome reports.
UCTV, good news for all.
Catch incredible stories of resilience, success.
You can manage that money.
With a topping of inspiration.
Get interested in people, not interested in yourself.
Inspire, achieve, repeat.
You are watching UCTV, good news for all. For this and more, tune in to Kasese Get Radio 100.5 in Western Region, located at the hill of the Diocese of Kasese. KGR brings you all Catholic programs and an advertising platform in all our radio shows like Good Morning Renzori, Chama Towoka, Ukute, the business show, Propeller, the request show and sports, Evaluation, Bahinga Bakuluka, Late Night Show, and many others. Our other services include Isuzu Tipa, a no car, public address system, live band, Omokekera, an audio recording studio, and outside live broadcast. For more information, call 0773 597 166 or visit our website www.kasesegatradio.com. Kasese Radio, Omusondoria, the voice of truth.
It's unbelievable. Now, companies, businesses, and organizations can make bulk payments easily with Centenary Bank's corporate center SWIFT to anyone without the need of a bank account, anywhere, anytime, just like that. The recipient needs only their phones, national ID, and token number received via SMS to withdraw money from any center agent nearby. The Centenary Bank's corporate center SWIFT is simple, secure, and convenient. You think it's too good to be true? Visit any of our branches countrywide or visit www.centenarybank.co.ug to know more. Centenary Bank. Centenary Bank is a member center group regulated by the Bank of Uganda. Customer deposits of up to 10 million shillings are protected by the Deposit Protection Fund of Uganda. Terms and conditions apply.
UCTV, good news for all.
And finally, to wrap it up for our newscast tonight from the world of sports, motorsports delegates and shareholders were left in disarray as police stopped their General Assembly meeting scheduled at Silver Springs Hotel, enforcing a court injunction, as Semgenze Mustafa brings us the details.
Musede Dennis Good is my name. I am a lawyer for the Federation in the Legal and Disciplinary Commission of the organization of FMU. Today, while exercising our constitutional function as the General Assembly, we were having the annual general meeting. Unfortunately, the annual general meeting was interrupted by police officers who turned up with a claim that the AGM cannot take place on the premise that the AGM was injuncted by a court order. In my personal opinion, when we decided to look at the court order they were making reference to, it's a court order which restrained the extraordinary general meeting of the 3rd of January 2024. This court order is dated 28th of December 2023. The purpose of the court order which was presented today was to restrain the extraordinary general meeting of the 3rd of January 2024, and to restrain the Constitutional Review Commission from carrying out its mandate. The AGM shall be held on the first Saturday of February in each and every year annually. Now, the 1st February was for this year is the 3rd February 2024. There are very many issues to be discussed in an AGM. The agenda of the AGM has nothing to do with any matters which were injuncted. The agenda is very clear. It talks about presenting financials for the year. It talks about aspects of election, okay, because it's an elective AGM. It talks about updating the General Assembly on the current status, okay, of the Federation in light of the new sports law. So stopping an annual general meeting, which is a constitutional requirement, and matters which were injuncted were not part and parcel of the agenda of this meeting, is a very big misnomer. Before the meeting was stopped, the General Assembly made certain resolutions. One of the resolutions the General Assembly made was that the current leadership, the current executive, because you cannot have a power vacuum, continues with its mandate of leadership. And I find that very key. It's good the General Assembly found wisdom to extend until matters in the court are resolved. That is very okay, so that we don't have a power vacuum. So far that is the main resolution that was that we were able to achieve before we were really officially interrupted.
And with the sporting segment ends our news tonight. Stay tuned to the Uganda Catholic Television. Good news for all. Have yourselves a very good night.